Welcome back to Real Repairs for Real Customers. My name is Rick. It's beneficial for the mobile repair tech to know some simple reupholstery techniques. And today I'd like to take you along and do some simple reupholstery on a couch out in the field. Oh, not this field. Oh, you thought I meant.
What in the world?
So if you're ready, let's go to work. So, on our way to work today, we have to pick up another technician. It's going to be something a little different today. We have Gary Babinek with us. Gary, are you there?
I'm here, Rick.
There you are. Well, for those of you who watched the video on the foam steering wheel, I mentioned Gary, and Gary is the one that helped me along on that project. So we wanted to invite him along here today to ride with us and go to work on our couch. Gary, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Rick, I've been in this business doing automotive repair interiors since 1992. So I've been around the block, up and down the street a few times. And one thing I want to say before we get started on this is I really appreciate your guidance. It's hard when you get an old goober like me that's been around for so long and thinks they know everything. When I get stuck, it's nice to have someone to call. And I really appreciate you being there for me. So I want to say thank you to you and thank you what you do for this industry.
Well, thank you, Gary, but I think I've called you on it a time or two as well.
It works. It's a nice give and take, and that we
Yes.
work well together.
Yeah, yes, that's right. In fact, we first met at a seminar, and you were involved in some training, right? At the Mars convention, right?
Maybe that's why those Mars guys never made it. They should have had you train them.
So yeah, I noticed how helpful you were to everyone, and so that sort of sat well with me, and that's what I've always tried to do, you know. Same
Well,
thing.
and the Mars guys are still near and dear to my heart. They all watch your videos, and I, like you, like helping those guys out. If I can help someone become a better
Sure.
craftsman, I really like that. And as far as the craftsman I've ever run across, I'm a second fiddle to you, easy.
No, don't say that. I think you might have a few years on me there in the business, so.
No, I don't think so. I think you've been doing this longer than me, haven't
Okay. I wouldn't admit it.
you?
Well, Gary, we're going to move along, and I sent you a few screenshots of this couch so you'd know what we were up against here, so you have a little bit of foreknowledge on this, but we're going to go through the video with you today. And I just would like you to jump in and give your opinions, you know, or your experiences, whatever, as we do this repair, okay?
Okay,
So you go ahead.
I think this repair goes right along with some of the things we do in the car business. Not necessarily on a sofa, but on a seat back with the same situation. So
Sure, sure. Okay, so let's see. We want to get on here to this is the couch. Hopefully you can see the couch okay on your end.
I can.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I'm going to play this on. This area right here, Gary, there were three areas that needed repaired on this, but this was the customer's damage, okay? So they weren't really so much concerned about the customer's damage. Just a little background on this. This couch is at the location of a company that does water damage restoration, okay? So they've moved the couch and they've damaged it big time just moving it, okay?
Okay.
So what we're going to do, we're going to fix their damage, and then while we're at it, we're going to fix the customer's already pre-existing damage, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so this is part of it that's going to just get the heat gun, the grain pad, you know, the vinyl repair approach on that. Yeah. So we're going to move along and show you the big damage. Yeah, so there we are in the bottom. So this is quite large Gary. So there's one like this down low, and then there's another one just like this up above, a little bit smaller. So with the two in the same panel, I just made the judgment that I'm going to replace that panel,
Okay.
totally. Okay. It's a bit large, and well, the difficulty with something this large where there's no backing, right?
Well, that's a repair on a seat back with that void it's a nightmare repair unless you can get in behind it.
Yeah.
If you heat that and try to grain it, you're going to stretch the vinyl, and you can't make a good repair on that.
Right. Right. So in one like this, you wouldn't be afraid to go down here then and take this bottom edge loose, right?
If that was customer damage and they just wanted that repaired and not replaced, that's probably what I would do. After speaking with you a few times on these repairs, taking that apart makes a lot of sense, because if you could get something up in behind that to work against, you can make a pretty decent repair.
Yes. Yeah.
That damage was done by a moving company, and I'm sure your customer wants that to be brand new.
Yeah, because see, they're expecting that company to make it new. I mean,
Right.
they're really going to look at this rather closely. So I actually have two different sets of people to please with this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But each job, of course, as we know, each job is a judgment call, whether you replace it or whether you repair it. That's it.
Right on.
Every job stands on its own there, so that's fine. So anyway, let's move along here, and let's see. I guess I had put a still in there. All right, so this is the same damage on the bottom. As you can see, it's about 4 inches long by, it's almost 4 inches square. The one on the top, Gary, right here, it's a couple inches long. It's about 2 inches on each side square. And you can see the top line up there.
Okay.
Okay, so that is actually the side, Gary. This is the vinyl taken off. This goes down the side, okay? And this is where the tack strip nails have penetrated, okay?
Now, if that was just the damage and you wanted to repair that, that would be an easy access to get behind that from that tack strip, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So as long as, and for the sake of our viewers, as long as you know how to manipulate that tack strip, to loosen it up, you can still get your clipboard behind there. It's easy access there, right on the edge. So yeah. So that's what we're going to show today. Is we're going to actually show replacing, but by replacing, we're going to see what it's made of and how easy it is to gain access all at the same time. So
very good.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move along. The moving company tried to do something to hide this, but there's no hiding that.
I didn't train them, Rick.
No, a little bit of glue in a spray can isn't going to hide that big gouge in there. Okay, so here's this is the area we're dealing with, and you can see there's a recliner on either side, and this is the stationary part in the middle. Okay, now in prep for this, I ordered that vinyl. You could get that grain and that color. So I had the swatch, and when I ordered it, it's discontinued, Gary.
Go figure.
So that brings up the other thing that that bears weight in this. Now you have to pick a vinyl to replace what's not available, right?
Right.
Yeah, and this comes into play with our work with upholstery shops too. I'm sure you do some work for upholstery shops.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, they get a piece of vinyl or leather that doesn't match, and we've got to color it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So in this instance, I would like to stress that when you pick a replacement fabric that you have to color anyway.
Right.
Pick one, first of all, with a priority to the grain. Okay. And then the second priority should be value. And what we mean by that is you want the you want you want that vinyl to be the same lightness or darkness as your color, so that if the color gets scraped off, for example, let's just say we had black vinyl put on here and then the correct color put on top of it. When you scrape off this beige color, you're going to have black behind there. And
I have run into that myself, Rick. I had an upholstery shop replace a panel on a tan couch or a brown couch, and they replaced it with white leather. So you know what happened. I went back there once and redid it because they were scratching the color off, and it showed white. So the having the value close really is a key right there.
Yes, you're not going to see that contrast, and so it'll go unnoticed probably if it does scrape off. Yeah. So the priority then is pick the correct grain, pick a similar value, and then color is your third pick for getting it
Makes
close.
sense. Sure.
And if you get the color and the value close, then you don't need as many coats to change color when you go to dye that piece of vinyl. Yeah, because the color change usually requires 3 coats, and here we would get by with just 2. And you know, whenever you can put fewer coats on, you're going to have a better product.
Less is always better, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is. Okay, so we're going to move along here. And I took a snapshot, and if you get into some work like this that you don't do on a daily basis, it's good to take a snapshot and see how things are put together. That way, after you've ordered the material and a couple days have gone by, you can remember what you looked at. Okay, so moving along. I guess I must have put this still in here because when I paused it, it's already paused. Okay, let me pause this just a second. What I did, Gary, on this one, I put this yardstick right on this line at the top of these recliners, just so that when my new part goes on there, it lines up with those. And I have a little bit of adhesive right here, just to hold everything in place, kind of like a third hand for me. And I'm reusing everything, you know.
Sure.
The only thing I'm not reusing is the cardboard strip that you saw in that photo. And so I have a roll of this anyway. This is a little heavier duty than the cardboard strip that was on there. So what you'd find is it's going to be a little tougher job for that staple to go through. So you want to make sure to, in that situation, to increase the air pressure. That's what you need to do on something like this. If you haven't used the stapler on a regular basis, look and see how deep the head of that staple penetrates that cardboard. I mean, you really want to drive it home because look, we're going through the cardboard.
Sure.
We're going through that piece of foam there. We're going through the vinyl, and we're going through another layer of vinyl, and then into the wood. So you really want to drive that thing home. I'm using 3/8 long staples here with a 3/8 crown. So you're probably using the same things, right?
I do have a staple gun real similar to that, and it comes in very handy for seat back repair and
Yes.
console covers that come apart. Yeah, it's a handy item to have.
We might just mention they do have staples that are 1/4 inch long too for the newer consoles where you're only going through a thin layer of plastic and then right into the vinyl. There's nothing there. You got to be really careful. Notice I'm putting 2 layers of that cardboard, and the reason I did that is the first layer, when I looked at it, it didn't come up to the level I wanted, so the next one is put up just a little higher, just to make that straight line a little bit neater. So we have 2 anchor points. That doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so now I'm just going to go down here and stretch that vinyl and tack it down at the bottom. You don't have to pull it really that tight, just so there's no wrinkle top to bottom on it. And this will position it so that we can do the sides without, struggling with them and fighting with them. You might have noticed I put a little hem on this piece just to match the factory, okay? It wouldn't be necessary. Once you staple it under there, nobody's going to look under there. Well, we hope not. Okay, so I'm leaving the corner just a little bit so we can wrap it around. Let me just pause here a second, Gary. I've done the far edge already, the edge that the camera can't see anyway, okay?
Okay.
So that side's anchored down. And then we're going to lay our tack strip facing up. First of all, I'm going to put a little double face tape on there. Now, if you were accustomed to doing these, Gary, I'm sure you wouldn't need the tape, okay? But I need the third hand in this case to hold everything steady for me. And because I'm not an upholsterer, that means that if I can do this, then surely anybody can, right?
I think guys in our business get pretty handy, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
It's really nice to see how that comes apart, because the next time I run into that, I did a chair last week. Matter of fact, I called you right when I was done and said I struggled with that void behind it. Now that chair turned out pretty well because of where the damage was. When I set the chair back up into its proper position, you couldn't see it. I wasn't thrilled with it. The customer was ecstatic.
Yeah.
If I would have known how to take that apart at that point, that one though, Rick, had the individual tags, the decorative tags,
Right.
and that damage was real close to that area. And I thought about opening that up. One of the biggest reasons I didn't is because the customer stood right there and watched me make the whole repair, and I didn't know what I was going to get into.
Right.
But what are those tack strips like? The decorative.
The nails,
tack.
yeah, the furniture nails. They come. The strips come like with a nail every 4 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be like 3 nail heads in between them without nails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to pound as many in. The rest of them just float there. Yeah.
If I'd have talked to you or seen you do this before I did that, I probably would have taken that apart, because he could not get the leather for that. It was a very expensive Ethan Allen chair with the antique marbly finish on it, and that leather was not available anymore. So I had to recreate that.
In that case, Gary, I would, if you damage that strip because it's very flimsy when you pull it off of there,
Okay.
just cut it and just pound a bunch of individual nails back in place. So
Okay.
yeah, you can get a small box of those nails from Walmart, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I did want to mention here before we got too far along. I'm going to back up just a little bit, Gary. Well, I guess we're still there. Yeah, we're still there. You see how on the recliner how this back of this seat is set back from the side just a little bit, okay? And that's where the inside of the tack strip is going to go. Because we've got the tack strip upside down, this inside edge of the tack strip is going to be the same place that the outside is. It's going to be the outside edge once we flip this around.
Sure.
So this is where you want to line it up, meaning that the rest of this tack strip is going to hang over the edge a little bit. It's actually going to hang out here into open space just a little bit. So anyway, just so you know, did we already do this, or did I run it back?
Nope, you're good.
I was busy listening to you, so okay.
You're a guitar player. Be careful here.
Yes, I know. I thought about that when I was doing it. Speaking of which, today is the last day of work for me. I have 2 gigs coming up, 2 days, so I'm going to be very busy on that. And I have to keep readjusting your picture on our screen for some reason.
You're trying to make me look better. It's a big chore, Rick. I don't think you can do that.
The software is not behaving. Okay, I don't need the adhesive any longer, so throw that away. And then you just flip this around. Now you see how that inside edge becomes the outside
Okay,
edge.
sure.
Yeah. I'm grabbing my hammer. This is one of those dead blow hammers, and I've wrapped some cloth on it just to make it cushion a little bit, you know. I have to keep resizing your window, Gary. I don't know what's going with the software, but anyway. I'm sure you don't feel it. You're getting resized, you know,
No,
going along.
I haven't felt a
You
bit of
haven't felt
that.
a thing. Okay, while we're doing this, Gary, uh, I just wanted to ask you, uh, if you have a tack strip in, say, a microfiber couch, okay, and right up here at the top, you know, they bang that couch, and
Sure,
so the cloth is torn against that metal right there.
right.
So you got a broken corner, and then what happens is the nails come loose on the edge too when they bang it. So they slam it back down and bend the nails over. You know, then they can't figure out how come it's not staying and it's broken.
Well,
You ever
my
get any?
customer would get some super glue out at that point
Yeah.
and really make a mess of it.
Right. So I didn't know if you'd run into that ever, but
I don't do a lot of fabric repair, but that seems to me like pull a strip loose and stretch it around it and put it right back.
yeah, it's just that easy. So uh, you know, the strip will be bent. So what I do is I take a few nails more loose,
Okay,
then I straighten that strip out best I can, and then straighten the nails out. And you can take needle nose pliers and put those nails right back in the holes they came out of. And then, like you say, right at the very top, you know, stretch that cloth so that the damage goes
sure.
underneath the strip. Glue it there if you have to just for a little anchor. Yeah, and then pound those nails home, you know, finished. I didn't happen to show this, Gary, but this corner gets a couple of staples.
Okay,
And because those staples would normally show, that's when you put that decorative furniture nail on top of it. Okay? That hides the staples in this case.
sure.
Oh, here we go. All right. So we're busy talking, and let me just move this back a little bit. So this edge here was all
Right.
damaged, the customer damage, and then you saw the top edge. We just did a really quick repair there. There's not much to it. We already had the color because we had to match the
Right.
vinyl, you know. And so, and then you can see the nail, okay,
Okay.
is covering the staples, and that matches everything else, and that's got a nice straight line there. So, well, there you have it.
Very nice.
So, whoops, I got to resize you.
It's really nice to see how that comes apart because furniture repair is something I really enjoy doing. And that one would have been a challenge until I saw how you did that. I think sometimes the difference between a replace like that to make it perfect and a repair is, did the customer do the damage? What do they expect? Where's that thing live in the house? Is it right up against a wall? Did that hit a
Yes.
sill on the window to damage it? You might be able to get away with a repair on a bigger spot like that.
Right.
There's a lot of the considerations you have to take in when you start doing furniture repair.
I got to tell you, I had a repair that I could not make look right. And there was there was nothing else you could do. You know, I mean,
We've all been there.
there wasn't any fabric available. There was just nothing else to do for that. I think it was a cloth couch, if I remember correctly. Uh, but it had huge damage in the back, and I did the best I could do, and there was still a slight shadow in there, you know. And
Right.
so the lady says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "It's not what I'm going to do; it's what you're going to do. You're going to put a table and a plant there." So
I
anyway,
hope you were smiling when you told her that, because I think you could tell anybody anything if you're looking them in the eye and smiling.
well, people like you to be honest with them, don't they? I mean,
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
and we should always try to under promise and over perform.
yes, exactly.
I would prep them. When I saw that couch or that chair the other day, I could not tell from the pictures he sent me that there was a hole in that. And when all the way to that repair, I'm thinking, I hope that's just scratches. But when I get
Yeah,
there, one of them is actually punctured and it has stretched the leather. And I told him right up front that this may show a little bit when it's done.
sure.
Um, because I couldn't get in behind it. Well, I could, now that I watched this, do you do this? I could have got in behind that. But when that chair stood back up and I set it in the position that it was lives in, you couldn't see the repair. And he was absolutely
Right.
thrilled.
Yeah, yeah, right. I want to ask you one more question
Sure.
because we've talked a lot about hand stitching in
Well,
the
sure.
past, and actually, let me go back to here. If this were a cloth seam that was sewn, okay, and then you had the damage in the cloth and you wanted to get behind there, or even if it was vinyl and it was sewn here on this corner,
Sure. Sure.
or leather for that matter, and you want to, would you cut that stitch loose with a razor blade and get in behind there like that?
I would. I've done it on seats before.
Sure. Yeah.
I've opened up seats, especially on Jeeps, and that have that foam backing on the material that rolls up and makes a mess under the seat, under the fabric.
Right, right, right.
I have actually opened those seats up, reached in there and pulled all that garbage out and sewn it back shut.
Sure.
Before I
Yeah.
make, sometimes before I make a repair, I'll do that, because if that stuff's in there, you can't get it flat. You're
No.
dealing with that mound underneath
Yeah.
your repair. So you have to get it flat. The only way you can get that flat is to get that out of there.
As a matter of fact, on that same kind of a situation you're talking about, uh, like if it's the bolster on the driver's side, for example, where you slide
Right?
out, right? Yeah. I have taken that seam totally loose from one end to the other and peeled that back and replaced the foam.
Oh, okay.
I've replaced the foam from the top side without having to take the seat apart.
Oh, the foam underneath the heavy part of foam,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the
the
foam on
structural
the,
foam. I've replaced the
yeah.
structural foam like that. Yeah. So, and then because you have confidence that you can use that double needle blind stitch and put that seam back where nobody's going to know you opened it up.
Right.
So, yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, we've come to the end of our job today. You're tired?
Yeah, man, that one wore me out, Rick. I don't know what it was about that one. I enjoy working with you, Rick. And again, you've been a huge help to my career. And I look forward to the training seminars we do together. And we'll be together when in April. So,
Yes, and we're going to put you to work in April.
yeah, no, then I really do have to do some of these repairs. And I think the last one I went to, you really stuck me with that nasty leather repair.
uh, that wasn't on purpose, was it?
Yeah, yeah. I was looking over my shoulder. You were just laughing at me while I was over there struggling, but it actually turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I knew you could do it. Gary, it's been a real joy having you ride along with us today.
Well, it was a fun ride, Rick, and I know there's guys that watch these. The Mars guys in particular are all members and viewing your website, and it's valuable information. And there's a lot of people that appreciate your efforts out here, Rick. I want you to know that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it's helping, you know. And by the way, we probably will drag one of those guys in on a ride here one time.
There you go.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we talked some time ago about putting a print into some leather furniture. And you've been doing some of that. And so maybe I could call on you to share some experiences because I have a video in the archives where I'm doing a print. So if you wouldn't mind to visit us that time.
Absolutely not. The last trick you gave me on that was the best one I'd had with the cheesecloth trick. That's been a valuable tool in my arsenal.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay, Gary, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for the ride.
Okay.